SHIVWORKS Omnisheath. Let's talk about it. I think this is going to be the simplicity and the minimalism of this design. I think is going to be it's going to be so obvious to people that it's mostly going to be oblivious. Okay, and first thing I think must be discussed is the push dagger itself. Okay, so your typical push dagger is designed to go kind of in between your middle finger and your ring finger here, right? Oh, let me live long and prosper, right? So you'll do something like that. You'll put it there, and then that's kind of like your standard push daggers are built to be done that way. And on the surface, that seems like a reasonable approach because it's like, well, it's in the very middle of your hand and you punch through it. However, there's a reason why the hand fracture here is called a boxer's fracture. Okay, because what happens is if you're punching incorrectly, it makes it easy. It takes your wrist and your hand out of alignment, and it's just a recipe for disaster. So for boxing, what you typically want to do is orient to where you are punching with the index finger knuckle and middle finger knuckle. That's really where you want to make the impact. And the design that ShivWorks has done is they've got this small space here that they call the neck. And if you guys look at it, it's incredibly well designed. It's not flimsy or anything like that. It's not going to bend. Incredibly sturdy. So it'll go right there in between your middle finger and index finger, and you can make a proper fist, and you can establish a proper grip on the knife, and you can actually perform a proper punch. Um, so with that in mind, we have to discuss the idea of the whole fighting knife in general. Most things that are labeled fighting knives are actually something like a utility knife that just looks cool. That's kind of what it is. I mean, I've got a somewhat of a personal relationship with Greg Thompson, and some of the things that we'll talk about is how people will throw a ring on any knife and call it a fighting knife, and just trying to imitate the sock P. And people don't understand the idea and the compensations that goes into developing a fighting knife. And it's something like as simple as knowing how to box and how to make sure your hand doesn't get broken or your wrist doesn't get fractured or something like that. That's an issue. So if you're going to have a fighting knife or you're going to purchase a fighting knife, then you need to go ahead and purchase a trainer. That is 100% a necessity. You can't just go ahead and just throw on a knife in a random fashion and expect that you're going to be able to get it out under resistance, under duress, and think everything's going to be okay. Life just does not work that way. Okay, so with that in mind, when you pick up the live blade here, as far as accessing it's very very similar to the trainer. Now, the other thing I'll say about picking up a trainer is that this trainer here, because it is one piece aluminum, you can definitely use it as a non-lethal option as well. Okay, you don't have to always carry a lethal option. It's always if you're very good at applying this. I mean, you can get this thing out in places that you can't get a pistol out. So it's 100% a great option as far as carry goes. Now, let's get into the other side here is legality. Okay. If you're going to buy something like this, make sure you're reviewing your local and state laws because the knife laws are very, very finicky and they're very weird. You have all these things of like gravity dagger and all this different categories of law. So you got to look it up. Ignorance of the law is not a defense. So you got to make sure that you know the law for your area. Now, going back to the Omni sheath. Okay. The main thing that was interesting to me on the surface was this clip here. Okay. Everyone in the industry is I should say everyone, I mean every company is really looking at how to apply things in a way where it's not limiting. So, and by that, what I mean is that typically people would have to dress around their gun or design something around their tools. Everything they'd have to do is something around geared around their tools. And what the market demands is something that gives people the freedom to kind of express themselves. Okay. So it's clip here. It reminded me of when I first got the uh, Tenacore Velo holster, and they're the discrete carry concept clips. The interesting thing about those clips, if you look at them, they're kind of like a little hole cut out. So there's a piece that goes, so the hook, it goes right behind your belt there. So it's incredibly secure and incredibly stable as far as doing entangled work as well. So I really, really love this holster. It's been my favorite, my go-to carry holster for many years. I still use it a lot. So when I saw this clip, it immediately reminded me of that. However, the issue with the DCC clips is if I'm going to use that with pants, it will 100% put holes in my pants, especially once I start doing work under resistance. Now, when I put this on, it's a little bit different because the cutout, or that metal cutout, is let me see if I can get the camera to look there. It's actually towards the back, whereas in the DCC clip, you can see that the cutout is in the front, okay? And then this is punched out towards the back. So when I started to use this and train with it under resistance, okay, it didn't put any holes in my pants, which is awesome because I don't feel like buying a whole bunch of pants or gi pants. So it was great. So I really, really enjoyed that. That was something that stood out to me. Now, the other thing, as far as orientation, okay, typically your sheaths or your holsters in general are not designed to be ambidextrous, okay? So this is kind of the orientation here, right? It's oriented for a right-handed person to come out, grab, and access, okay? So with that in mind, if I am carrying this on my right side and I'm in a retention situation and I'm trying to retain my pistol, I'm a right-handed shooter, so I'm carrying on the right. So I'm carrying both tools on the right, okay? I don't want to have a situation where I am trying to decide which one I need to do, or kind of like pick the lesser of the worst poison, right? I don't want to pick my poison, so to speak. So typically, like if I get something like this, I'm gonna have to change it around. Maybe it doesn't fit exactly right as far as being an ambidextrous setup. So those are the kind of things that consumers have. I've dealt with too as a consumer, as far as dealing with something trying to orient to the left side. It's okay, especially when it comes to knives. So with the Omnisheath, if I want to carry this, or if I want to carry the push dagger as my primary, I can do that. Okay. Or I can just put that on the left side and then turn it around and carry just like that. Okay. Now, as far as why I made it a point to bring up that you must carry a trainer, because this will retain the live blade, and it will also retain the trainer as well. Okay. The sheaths that they come with, you need one for they're very, very specific. Okay. So if you can tell by the mold here, that is 100% for the live, and then this is for the trainer. So two very different designs, or two different, very, very different shapes. So they can't really, so neither one fits in the other, and they don't retain very well. So when you going into the Omnisheath, however, you can do it in either. Okay. So as far as the problem with this is that this was setting up the path to where we can carry lethal options without the use of a sturdy inner belt or something kind of like your typical tactical nylon, stuff like that. Okay. This is for a Glock 19, so it doesn't work well without a belt just because of the weight of the gun. That's just a problem, the stability of the pants. However, with the Omnisheath, if I wanted to dress nicely, or I wanted to go somewhere, maybe there's a social situation that doesn't necessarily call for the carry of a pistol. Maybe I'm walking through metal detectors or something like that. And guys, like it's a very easy thing to be like, well, just don't go there. This is life. I have kids, so I'm going to go to schools. I'm going to go to places, government buildings. There are going to be situations where I will have to walk into a place that I cannot carry my pistol. Okay, but this would provide a great lethal option if that's available to me. Then I can do that. And again, I can always carry this as a non-lethal option. Now, if I try to pair this with the something like a palm pepper spray. Now I have the ability to where I am not carrying a pistol. I have the ability to manage somebody from distance, and I have a lethal option with me. Okay, so I think that the this Omnisheath, I think the again, I'm going to go back to what I said in the beginning. The simplicity and the utility of this sheath, I think, is something you can't really appreciate until you are becoming a serious student. And that's kind of my goal here is to just turn people into high level end users. Like, not everybody's going to be an instructor. That's okay. Not everybody is even interested in that. As far as understanding the tools of the trade, why you're using them, what they do, and as far as the limitations, I think that's something it should be accessible to everyone. So